before I pull this image up, I was thinking, okay, we're going into Halloween. We're going into Halloween, and so things start to get spookier. If people were going to shops, more shops would have ghosties and witches and so on. So I thought, maybe I should switch Elevenses up to be a bit weirder and a bit more spooky and I was like, I can't. Because it's kind of, we have Elevenses is kind of Halloween all year round, basically, isn't it? So I thought, okay, I'm going to go for something different today. So I thought, let's do something else. Let's go for something beautiful. Let's go for Sleeping Beauty. This is actually Sleeping Beauty from Madame Tussauds, and this is going to be the theme of this Elevenses. Beautiful maidens made out of wax. Elaborately dressed quite often, lovely, but this is art history, so let's go for one that is older. So this is an 18th century Sleeping Beauty. She might not be quite asleep, in fact she looks like something else is going on with her. Not dissimilar to this one, look, same lovely blonde hair, real human hair. Interesting dress, same sort of colours, clearly sort of patterned, isn't it? It's maybe slightly more dull, perhaps. So she is in fact a wax model from about 1784, somewhere around there. Slightly odd angle that we're looking at her. So let's just have a look at her from another angle, shall we? Yes, you didn't think we were going to really look at Sleeping Beauties like Sleeping Beauties, did you? Had to be a twist, didn't there? And what you can see, it looks pretty gruesome, and it is pretty gruesome because she is lying, to all intents and purposes, kind of like Sleeping Beauty, in a glass case. Rosewood and Venetian glass, in case you ask, so quite special. And she's a wax model, but she has been slit open from her gullet pretty much all the way down to her pelvis. And she is splayed and open for everybody to see. She's not the only one. Here's another one. So these were called anatomical Venuses, and these were really, really bizarrely popular. I mean, the fact that I found two very easily, very, very popular in the 18th century. So they were both from a museum called La Specula in Florence, which is actually the largest, not the largest, but the oldest museum anywhere in Europe. And it started as a collection from a private collection of the Medici family. And the Medici family thought, okay, well, we've got this fantastic collection that might not at the time have actually contained things like this, but did very shortly afterwards. So in 1775, the Medici family decided that they were going to make their private collection public, because what they wanted to do was they wanted to enable the public to see all of these fantastic wonders that they that they were privileged enough to have collected and to have had privy to for decades and centuries. So they opened this museum, La Specula, and the only criteria to be allowed entrance into this museum was that you had to look clean. Otherwise, fine. As long as you looked clean, you didn't have to be clean, as long as you looked clean, then you could go in. And it contained all sorts of curiosities, taxidermy. Apparently, there's a very strange looking hippopotamus in La Specula, still I think, and then in the 1780s, so this image, this anatomical Venus was created in 1780, these became all the rage, and they became the thing that people wanted to go and look at when they visited La Specula in Florence. And when I say people, I don't just mean, probably gentlemen. I was going to say gentlemen without explanation, but it would have been gentlemen who had studied medicine and so on. Women didn't really get the opportunity in the 18th century. So it wasn't just people studying medicine or, with kind of other interests in human anatomy. It was a whole family trip. So kind of like a trip to Bodyworks, or is it called Bodyworks or Body World, or is that something different? Bodyworks, the one with the flayed skeletons and where you can see all the muscles and everything. This sort of morbid fascination with the internal. It's not morbid, but with the internal workings of the human body. So this would have been a day out for a family who would go around this museum, and they would look at things like this and like this. She's pregnant, this one. So there is, if you could see it up close, a little tiny fetus, and it is kind of creepy, because wax is kind of creepy as well. It's a substance that is very similar to skin, to the texture of skin. So there is something quite uncanny about this. It looks human to an extent, but then kind of isn't. Real human hair. Yes, that is, by the way, a merkin that you can see down there. So no detail was spared, and this particular model there's like 7 different layers. That you of real anatomical veracity that people could explore. You've got to ask yourself, though, really. I mean, okay, so look at this pose. She's not just a corpse, is she? She's been made specifically to look really quite lovely, and you could argue very successfully, I think, that she's also been created to look really quite sexy. This sort of the head thrown back. She almost looks like she's in ecstasy. Hand looks like it's sort of grasping the bed covers. This jewelry. She's got a little. You can see it here a bit better. She's got a little. What's it called? Singlet or something in her hair. It's all of these details are there to make her look beautiful, and I think that was because. I suppose that was going to appeal to the everyday man in the street, the kind of the idea of the erotic, sexy beauty, not so much maybe slit open, but the idea behind having someone who looked lovely was that death wasn't really very appealing, and it was it would be unattractive to most people, bizarrely. And they felt like that the ordinary man in the street, the ordinary family, wouldn't really want to be seeing a dead body, and so there's this really weird, as I say, uncanny juxtaposition between beauty and someone who kind of looks like she should be very much alive in this sort of ecstatic pose, but then displaying her guts for all and sundry. Quite why they thought that was sort of all right for children. I suppose lots of things are all right for children. Children are far more robust than we give them credit for a lot of the time, aren't they? But I think I can imagine little Giovanni going around the museum and being quite disturbed, to be honest. But also, not just that, kind of some strange predilections in later life. If this is his first encounter with an erotic-looking woman, and then she's got, then her body is slit open with all her organs on display. Yeah, not very nice. But the reason actually that they took children, which is actually quite important to mention, is that science and religion and art and philosophy were all kind of one subject. So all of a piece. They weren't split out into separate disciplines as they are today. And so therefore, so to understand the human body was very much also to understand the human condition, the human psyche. When they dissected bodies in this way, yes, they were looking to understand the organs, but they were also looking to try and find where the soul was. They actually kind of thought in the 18th century that potentially the soul was a part of the body that could be identified and dissected and understood. It was thought in the 18th century that everything could be understood, absolutely everything. And so this is sort of all bound up with the ideas of religion and who we are, what is a human being, and so on in a much wider sense. And so this is why it was felt to be very instructive as well for children. So yes, interesting. So have someone who looks gorgeous so it doesn't scare people off, but maybe it's even slightly more disturbing than it could have been anyway. Could have been otherwise. Now this is actually genuinely disturbing. So this is of a similar theme, and this is in fact a wax model of I was going to say a real live person. She's clearly not alive anymore, so it's a really sad story. So very heavily pregnant lady is knocked down by a carriage outside the Royal College of Surgeons in Madrid in the 18th century, and so they take her in and she dies, and no one claims the body, and kind of in a really horrible way, this is a complete gift for the surgeons, because they don't get the chance to cut open pregnant women and have a look and see what's going on. Again, it's all about, if you can understand in the 18th century, if you can understand the everything about the body, then you can begin to understand everything about the world. And so I hope they bury her nicely in the end. I'm sure they do, but they cut her open, and in fact a sculptor called Juan Chavez, hasn't got a V in it, Chayes, he makes a mud cast and then a wax sculpture, which is still, you can still see this in Madrid today. So it's kind of the fact that she was absolutely a real woman, and we know that she was a real woman, a woman without a name. This is called the Mother. This sculpture it sort of adds a whole new dimension, doesn't it? To lighten the mood just a little bit, and to end with today. So while I'm looking for images, I am always looking on various places, and I'm kind of researching, and I happened to be on Pinterest for this. I saw this on Pinterest, and how Pinterest gives you other images that you might want to consider alongside this, similar images. Okay, so are you ready for this? Are you ready for this similar image? Cinnamon rolls. I get it, but cinnamon rolls. Oh, okay. Yeah, you'll never look at a cinnamon roll again. There you go. Yeah. So artificial intelligence, maybe not quite so good. Not quite so intelligent here, but there we go. Okay, so I'm going to turn these off, and I'm going to turn commenting back on, and just see if you're still talking to me after that. It's pretty grim, isn't it? And I think the grimness is in real life when you actually experience things like this, because of the wax. The wax is such an incredibly lifelike material. Well, you've been to Madame Tussauds, I'm sure you have, and kind of how freaky things are. And then you see this body opened up. It is very weird. But who knew? So that was a thing. It was 100% a thing in the 18th century. learning about anatomy, learning about life, learning how to terrify your young children, probably, I think. Okay, if you aren't doing anything this evening, then join me. We've got Divas tonight at 6 o'clock. So some more, I was going to say weird and wonderful. Are they weird and wonderful? They're definitely wonderful. Some of the stories behind them are pretty bloody weird. I'm gonna throw that out there. Only £10, so not too late to sign up. Go to my website, have a look. It's on the virtual art tours page. So that's Divas tonight at 6 o'clock. But otherwise, I will see you all if you're going to join me next week after I pretended that we were looking at Sleeping Beauty. Otherwise, I'll see you next week at 11, next Thursday. Have a good day, everyone. Bye. Thanks for joining.